Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Casual Conversations with Comic Creators. This is episode 45. Don't know where did the time go, but it's episode 45 of Casual Conversations with Comic Creators. This is the Maya Matter show where each month I speak to a different comic creator about their journey, literally and figuratively, as well, and what goes into the craft of making comics. So it's all about showcasing the human being behind art as we discover each person's story. And today, I'm Nigel, by the way. Did I mention that? I don't think I introduced myself. Okay, let me do that. I'm Nigel, the My Matter co-founder, and I am talking with Nancy ArtMusic, creator of the Soul Traveler series. Nancy, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel not as good as you, considering where you've been traveling to. So we're going to get into that. But also, I just realized before we started recording that this is the third time you have been on this show. You are veteran, I'm going to say.
I am. I
Yeah.
feel very
Okay.
lucky. It's very sweet. I was just thinking I want to have I hope they've yeah, I hope I have profound things to say that are helpful to people.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if not, we can, I don't know, we can mess with the edit to like just put that in afterwards. But yeah, you know what, I should have something prepared for like people who have been on three times. Because if it's like sports, they give you the ball, like the match ball or something. I don't really have anything. You can take the virtual match ball home with you
Ooh, yeah, I like
afterwards.
that. Big
Cool.
comic, just a comic panel maybe.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, all right, we'll work on that. So yeah, be good to like dig into what you've been up to, and like I said, sort of the literal and figurative journey as well. Are you jet lagged? You feel jet lagged?
Yes, but it's been the most helpful thing in my life right now.
What, having
I
jet lag?
have chronic insomnia, and so like having to my sleep schedule being adjusted by having been on the other side of the world has been very, very helpful. I woke up at um I had work on Monday and woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, um, got myself ready for the day, cooked lunch, went to the Barbican, re-signed up for my library card and borrowed some books, and then I went to work. And that was like
It's very productive.
insane. That was what that would take me out for the day on my regular days off.
Right. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
been very
Okay.
nice.
I mean, we should also say where you've been. You have been to Japan, so
Yeah.
just yeah, to give that context. So that's a serious, potentially serious case of jet lag there. So we are on the show to talk comics, but I feel it would be like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if we didn't talk about Japan. Not least because it's been a very long while since I've personally been to Japan. So it's as much for me, so I can live vicariously through you right now. And also, I'm not even joking. Over the past like 18 months, you might be like the 30th or 33rd person I've met who is either going to or just got back from Japan. Actually, I might be inflating that by like 2%, yeah, if at
Yeah.
all. So it's a mad number of people who have just gone to Japan, which I don't know if the universe is trying to tell me something, but
The prices are good for,
so I hear.
to go at the moment. I've been wanting to go since I was like 13, and obviously being into anime and just like wanting to learn more about Japan as like a country, and like what the people are like and what the culture is like, and what is it about like that place that makes people that make the media that I enjoy so much, um is like was something that I've been obsessed with since I was a teenager. And I just for a while uh almost gave up on the idea that I would ever see it in person. It was like
Mm,
very, very dramatic. And for the last sort of year or so, whilst as you've said, every single person that has had an interest in traveling, even the slightest bit, or just like again, comics and manga and all that sort of
mm,
thing, they've all managed to go. But it was I'm not super proud of saying this, but anytime that somebody came back from Japan, whether they visited like multiple cities or just one place, when they were telling me about their trip, I'm like, that's so cool. Oh, yeah, great. I'm trying so hard to be happy for you and not really jealous and feeling
Yeah,
like
yeah.
entitled to have gone
Co-
before some of
yeah.
the people that have been going, which is
Right. I'm
like,
glad you said that.
yeah, if it,
I was
it's,
thinking
but
it.
it feels like a crazy train of thought.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you said, you wanted to go for a while, so it's almost like that's you've done the thing that I want to do. So it's some of that. I feel that. I mean, I'm probably just trying to make myself feel better as well. But yeah, I definitely understand that. And you, because you said you've been wanting to go. Did it? Where were your expectations? And yeah, were they met when you went there? Did you go for? Did you do all the sort of quote unquote geeky stuff? Did you? You stayed in. I've also just made the assumption you stayed in Tokyo. Was that the
Yes,
case or?
yeah, I was in Tokyo for like 8 or 9 days. Can't really tell because of how the time difference works or all that sort of thing. But yeah, I decided because it was such a um like yeah, personal like trip for so many different reasons. I wanted to also stay just in Tokyo for a little bit because as a Londoner, I'm like, okay, well, if I had 9 days in London, I still wouldn't have seen all of it. So why would that not apply to a city like Tokyo,
Fair point.
firstly?
Fair
And then
point.
secondly, I want to have enough of a reason to go back and say like, oh, well, I still haven't seen XYZ. I want to go back and see those places too. And so I stayed in Tokyo for the entire time. I booked a place at this like capsule hotel-y sort of
Right.
place. I don't know if it's like exactly like a capsule hotel. It was very or a hostel. It seemed too nice to be a hostel in the
The hostels are
traditional
nice
sense.
there. The
So
Yeah, yeah.
I will so though say though it was
Or
very,
the one
very
hostel I
quiet.
stayed at was nice. I can't just like speaking for the whole country. There might be the rest might have been terrible, but the one I stayed in was nice.
What country was it? Sorry?
Not in Tokyo. So when I went and stayed, I did a week in a hostel and a week in a hotel, and the hostel was very nice.
I think it maybe just again romanticizing stuff doesn't always help, but I was like, oh, maybe every place in Japan is that lovely, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Um,
yeah, the one I went to was good.
yeah, but yeah, it ended up being a very like meditative time. I didn't go to any of the geeky stuff that I would have imagined that I would have gone to. It was a solo trip as well, so I was uh kind of like there were a couple of things that I probably would have gone to if I was in like maybe a small group of people. Like
Sure.
going to a maid cafe on your own must be like a really weird experience, so I decided not to do that.
Fair.
Um, but also stuff that I just entirely forgot would be interesting to me because I was just busy visiting like landmarks and shrines and stuff like that and like the one place that I 100% knew that I needed to go to was Itoya, which is a like 12-story tall stationery store.
Mm.
So cool. Although I have like every single bit of stationery under the sun, and I've been very good at not buying any more. So I was like, okay, if I'm here, I feel like I have to get things that are going to replace stuff at home. It ended up being a very reasonable spend, thankfully.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. Hi, Neosports in the chat. If you haven't already figured it out, we're talking Japan. As Nancy has recently been to Japan. We will talk comics as well, but you just came back from Japan, so let's dig into that a little bit. And do you feel like you missed out? I guess like you said, you got a reason to like go back, but what did that do for you to like go into the more meditative places?
I think it was man, it's so hard to put into words. I was just kind of
Mm.
in awe and like and it took me so long to make the decision to go because I always thought it was going to be under entirely different circumstances. I always thought that it would have been like with a partner or with friends or something like that. And then,
Mm,
like over the last like 3 or 4 years, I've kind of been in survival mode because of like lots of other personal stuff going on.
mm,
And so this year so far, we're in March, so it feels pretty good to say that everything's been going pretty well, like with health wise and job wise and all that sort of stuff. Everything's been quite good. And so I like it's just piling on top of that and making me realize that I don't have to be stressed all the time. And I don't have to like constantly be chasing something and like also denying myself stuff because I feel like I'm
not there
not
yet.
yeah, not
Mm,
there yet, or maybe I need to continue to suffer for a little bit longer for some reason when some of this stuff is actually in my control.
mm,
So yeah, like that's the biggest sort of thing that came out of that trip. And it was so good. Oh, and also not to pay for the extra photos at Tokyo Skytree, like personally. I was overwhelmed with excitement, and so I ended up buying this photo book of like you can take a picture of yourself, as I'm sure you can probably lots of other places in
mm,
like wherever they have a tall tower, and they give you this like booklet the to
mm.
put your photo in. Taking the
Okay.
photo is free, and then you get this like little thing. I have two of
Ah,
these from two different parts of them, and they cost 7 quid each. So I don't recommend that. You can
okay.
take pictures on your phone, and you can print them later.
Yeah, that's good. Good lesson. Yeah, yeah, good. Good lesson. Okay, and I think that's a good thing to bring up in terms of like allowing yourself to get there because I definitely feel you on a survival mode, and I might have to go back and replay that that bit you just said as well because I feel you're a creative and you're doing creative things, and I feel for people whether it's like you're doing it full time, whether it's around sort of a job, non-creative or creative, it is that feeling of I'm trying to do this thing, and once I do this thing, then whatever, insert whatever. So I definitely feel that I don't have a. I'm glad you got there. I feel again, like I said, I'm gonna have to replay that bit, but you can because you want to enjoy the journey, right? That's the see. There's like ups and downs, but you want to enjoy the journey. So if you've always wanted to go to Japan and you can make it work, you can go, and it's not like a yeah. You don't have to sort of take a test of where you are in life. So it's really good to get that opportunity. And is that something that do you feel, doing the creative thing? Do you feel like you have struggled with that? Because I struggled with that a lot.
Yeah, I think with the my entire life I've been very, very ambitious in lots of different ways. Uh, for people that know me, I think originally they know that I've wanted to be a musician originally, so pop like global pop star of the world was where I was really, really hoping to be by now. And in fact, I think in my original plan as a 10-year-old, I was like, oh, by my mid-30s, I'll probably retire because I'll be so rich and
So
I'll be so
you'll be
famous.
done.
I won't be
You'll be bored of being so successful and
right? Or I'll be
famous.
like, oh, I'll do a tour here or there, but like I probably won't need to unless I want to. But I it was like over the 2025 was mostly about trying to figure out it was trying to figure out what balance looks like and how to stop the pendulum from swinging all the entire opposite way where I've been ambitious all my life. I've been like planning how to do different things and I've been wanting to do a podcast and a YouTube channel and I've done all those things at different points but never consistently.
Hmm.
How do I keep that consistent without putting crazy amounts of pressure on myself and burning out constantly? Is anybody really truly happy? Um, and that's on both sides. Real like content creators that are successful, real content creators, and then like my colleagues or like the average person who has worked in whatever industry or job or office that they have been at and they don't really seem to want to do anything else. In fact, that's why I left my office job because I was like, I can't be around people who don't have ambition. It's making me feel crazy because I'm the
Really?
only one who's talking about like,
Oh, because you're the
don't
odd
you
one
want
out.
to do anything else?
Yeah, yeah, and they're like, no, and then you start thinking, oh yeah, is it a problem? Oh yeah, it is. You know, what's that phrase? There's a phrase. It's like you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. I
Hmm.
can't remember the exact. I think something like that, and I also can't remember who said it. So apologies there, but something like that, and you start realizing that. I feel the more you do, and I'm putting this in a creative context, like um, and especially when it's your own thing, when you're like you're making your own stuff, how important it is to have what voices are around you, because like you say, you could be in a place where the majority of people are like, I have no desire to do anything outside of the job, and I don't know why you would, and you might start thinking, yeah, why do I am I weird? Or you can be in a place where people are like, oh yeah, this is how you can learn more. This is all. Let me introduce you to this person. It's a whole different like setup, and I feel that's really important on a creative journey, like who you are surrounded by.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
think I'm at a point where a lot of me and my colleagues at the place I work now, everybody has a side project, or they're studying, or you know, they're like, no one's just doing one thing, it seems like, and that it's quite nice because then we all occasionally will have shared moments of like, oh wow, this is really difficult to balance. Um, and then also people who are just struggling to be like, how do I balance being just a functional human being day to
Mm,
day and having enough energy to then put into what is essentially a second job without reward for so long
mm,
before you can see any result, and whether or not, how do you know it's worth it? Is there light at the end of the tunnel? But those conversations seem to sometimes go on and no one really has an answer.
no.
Uh,
If
which
anyone
is,
does, put it in the chat or email
oh,
email
please,
later.
yes.
Please like let us know. But yeah, no, I get that, and so I think like taking that like time out to go to Japan, and it is interesting. Was it like a case of, did you have a list of sort of geeky things to do and you just didn't like go, or was that like a conscious
Sort
effort
of.
to take the meditative route?
Let me try and actually pull up the list of things that I wanted to do.
Okay.
Da, 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 da. I think it was a lot of I wanted to do a lot of things in, like, I thought about broader Japan and I didn't think really about what um how I was going to do them. I knew that there were, right. So what I want to do, stationery store,
Okay.
onsen, Akihabara, food,
Yep.
Kit Kat,
Yep.
the flagship Kit Kat store. There's a cafe called the Muscle Girl Cafe, and different from, like, very different vibe to like what you would think of for a maid cafe or like a themed cafe. Well, I guess they're more of like a themed bar.
Mm.
But it's just like women bodybuilders who, like, one of the drinks you can order is they squeeze juice in their biceps into your cup. It's like very, it makes me made me feel very like excited and empowered that like there was a place that was based on like, here's a bunch of physically strong women. And I was
Mm.
like, I need to see that. Um, and then I just wrote cafe. I don't know what it
Okay.
just
Just any,
generally
yeah, just
cafe. And then I have, oh, Unicorn Gundam. I did do that. That was fun. And then just a bunch of Instagram links. One of them was a Jazz Kisa, which is like a jazz cafe that you can get ones with live music, but there's ones where one person, the cafe owner, will make the drinks, flip a record for you to like listen to, and also cook food at the
Mm.
same time. Some of them have really intense rules because they're about the music, so you're not allowed to talk, and you can only come in maximum groups of two, but ideally on your own so that you can enjoy the music. You can smoke indoors in some of them, which is quite fun.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that.
so
That was
that's what I
wild.
did on my last night, and
Okay.
actually that ended up meaning that I spent um four times more on a suitcase because I didn't buy it the day before in a cheaper place. I turned up to the airport hungover and in the wrong terminal. And I was like, does someone sell suitcases? And the lady at the information desk was like, oh, yes, but they open at 9 and my flight was at 8:45. And I was like, oh, okay. Thankfully there was someone at the other terminal that sold some
Okay.
suitcases and that was fine. But yeah, it was so that was like I left with that being the experience that I'm hoping to have much more of next time, but hopefully uh with less of a hangover and m more responsible spending.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Checklist for next time. Did you bring anything back? Because a lot of people go to Japan and they bring stuff back. I got some sweets from my friend Lau, who the other co-founder of my Matter, but I bought some sweets over. Thank you, Lau. He's not listening to this, but yeah, did you get anything?
And surprisingly not as much as I was kind of hoping to. I don't
Mm,
know. I think I was trying to be again as responsible as I possibly could. But my favorite thing that I brought back is the like when you visit shrines, you can get something called a goshuin, which is like a stamp to commemorate your visit, and you have a
ooh,
special like accordion style book.
oh,
These each
like a
stamp is
passport.
for yeah, well, kind of, because it has on the other side, it has like a blank page. Some
Oh,
people,
okay.
I think I've seen one of these where you can display them with a double glass like wall, and so
Mm,
you can see both sides at the same time, depending on what side. No one, I don't have a room that big, so it's fine. I'll never do that. But yeah, these are all the shrines that I ended up going to, which is also another reason why I was like, it ended up being like a bit more spiritual and reflective, because of course. I went to the big shrines where there's lots of people, lots of tourists, but a ton of the smaller ones as well, where it genuinely felt peaceful and quiet, and it was lovely. So that was one of them. And then I got two books, and that's actually one of my
mm,
regrets. I wanted to buy way more books, but this is kanji a picture tour of Japanese characters and like in the book you can learn how to write kanji
mm,
and also like memorize some of the most common ones because I was so I did visit there's a place in oh gosh I'm not going to remember the name but it's called Village Vanguard. It's in the more hipster side of Tokyo, so there's tons of vintage stores, lots of very like the you know when you meet hipsters normally and you well for me anyway I feel
yeah.
very like oh my gosh you're so much cooler than me, so everybody walking around had this like swag those they were
Oh
just like
yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah. I saw that. Just I saw that just with people in very I don't know like fashionable and very just cool people. Got quite intimidated.
yeah
So
exactly
that
so
was
I
cool.
what risked going there and then I went to this place called Village Vanguard. They're like a hipster cool store. If imagine if Don Quixote like was curated by someone who was like cool and hipster.
Okay,
And
okay,
they
interesting.
had this amazing selection of like manga and novels and stuff like that and really cool like hand-drawn art by the staff that
Mm,
work there as well to like say like this is really cool because blah blah blah. And I was like I was surrounded by books that I couldn't read and I was so upset.
yeah, yeah. Yep,
Oh,
yep.
so yeah, and I got learn through manga with
Mm,
the onomatopoeia friends. So this book is
ah,
just onomatopoeia and I was looking for something like this because in I was hoping that in Soul Traveler I would which is my comic that I'm working on now and hopefully will be done this year. Um I was really hoping to incorporate like Japanese onomatopoeia as like flavor
mm,
text for instead of boom, pow, like
right.
stuff like that. So
Okay.
that would be quite cool. But I couldn't find a reference book in the UK that was good enough to like
Yeah, yeah. So you went to the
to show off.
source.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. But I wish I
fair.
bought tons more books because they
Mm,
had books that were like half in English and then half in Japanese so that you can
right.
like
Yep.
like read it, understand it, And then,
learn.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's cool. But I mean, like you said, reason to go back. So I mean, that's cool.
100%.
And yeah, and you mentioned comic. Like I said, we'll talk about comics as well. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which is, I guess if Japan is the sort of positive, the negative is that you had a recent, or relatively in the grand scheme of things, recent Kickstarter campaign that didn't quite work out, and was never like failure, but I thought it was worth talking about, because on that we're talking about a creative journey, and that is a part of it. And I've had multiple failing Kickstarters, so I wonder if you can tell us about the comic itself, and then what you were trying to do with the Kickstarter, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So, Soul Traveler is a story that I've had in my head for the last almost 4 years. That's insane. But yeah, so I've been wanting to put it out into the world. I've been wanting to finish it. And if we like rewind to about like nearly 2 years, well, no, actually, year and a half ago, that's when I launched the Kickstarter, and I've been wanting to do it. I've been kind of preparing a Kickstarter for a while, and I had it in drafts, in like the draft format for a while. I was asking friends for feedback on it who are
Mm,
also in the comics industry and had successful Kickstarters. Got some really, really lovely advice that I was too scared to implement and too disorganized to actually like
okay.
leave time for. Even though nobody, this is the thing, and it kind of relates to the ambition thing that I was talking about earlier. It was like, I have to set aside time to take this seriously and put energy into it and commit to it very seriously. And it was, I'm like getting can feel my body reacting. I'm like, take a deep breath, it's okay. Um, but yeah, it was um like so sudden actually publishing it because I basically was getting annoyed with the fact that I was talking about it all the time to anybody and everybody. It's like, I'm working on this big comic. It's going to be a big series, a graphic novel, probably in the end. It's going to be 100 and 200 pages and something, something, something. And I was like, I can't keep talking about this and not doing it. It's annoying me. I'm just going to press publish. So I think it's something like 8 p.m. one evening. I just hit publish on the draft as it was without making any amendments. And I was
Okay,
like, okay,
this is
it's
it.
live.
Yeah.
Here you go. And so part of that was I thought that it would work beautifully as a motivator and basically being
For
like,
you.
well, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And basically being like, well, now people are gonna give you real life money to expect something in return, which means you're going to have to do it. And that's how you're going to accomplish creating this comic.
Okay. I can see
And
the
I was
logic.
like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
don't
mean,
recommend it.
yeah, I mean, so because it sounded like, and I totally feel like you talk enough about. I've again, I've done this. You talk enough about something, and it's like, well, where is it? You don't want to be that person, right? That it's like, and again, we're talking about like their creative journey, but it's, oh, I'm doing this thing, or I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, and then you feel like people around you going, okay, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? You've been saying this for a while, so I totally get that. And then I guess that then meets up with the some of the realities of running a Kickstarter campaign, because it is difficult. It's a difficult thing to put together. What would you say? So actually, and because you had, which was it for a particular volume? Was where
It
what were
was
people gonna
my
gonna
first
get?
volume. I
Okay,
think I was there's so many things.
yeah,
The it was meant to be I wanted it to be a graphic novel so that I would do all of it in one go. And I've
Right. Okay.
had some lovely friends do graphic novels before. Matthew Dooley being one of them, and what like asking like, "Hey, how long did it take you to do?" And he was like, "Oh, years." And I was like,
Mm.
"What? What do you mean?" What do you mean? Especially because um like his drawing style is very consistent, but it's very classic in that it's like it's that cartoony style. You don't have elaborate shadows and like highlights and like crazy backgrounds with tons of detail and like
Right.
double page spreads with a huge like detailed landscape scene. So I was like, oh, and like wanting to be more ambitious, not only with my storytelling, but also my art style, because I would call myself like I'm not a beginner. I'm about to be intermediate in terms of my art style. And again, everybody has like artists diminishes what they say
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
how they perceive their own work. But can see other people's artwork and I'm impressed by the elements that I can't yet achieve. So I was like, this will be my opportunity to really create something impressive. Having never done that before and having never also done a graphic novel at all, I was like, okay, great. I will not go crazy with it. Now, again, I'll attempt to be very responsible by breaking it down into volumes, and my art style will improve because I will naturally improve as I continue to draw multiple like hundreds probably of people
Mm.
and speech bubbles and buildings and objects. And so at the end of it, then I'll compile the issues into graphic novel and probably want to redo everything.
Yeah.
And that means I can fix plot holes and storylines and
Got
put
you.
in some like Chekhov's gun and basically see the like proper payoffs later. And it doesn't matter that it's so um like, it can be bad. I was allowing myself to be bad at creating this story so that I can evolve it later if I wanted to. And the whole point of it was for it not to be filled with this amount of pressure.
Yeah.
So then creating the Kickstarter and basically being like, okay, I must do this was sort of counterproductive.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah, that was kind of my approach to it.
And you said there were some things that some advice or things to implement that you didn't quite get to implement, either sort of internal or just you hadn't left yourself time. What was one of those things?
It was basically just to give my it was about the formatting of the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Um like
Like the
lots of
page.
very yeah, like lots of very
Hmm.
structural things. Um lots of like you can watch videos about like recommendations for how to set it up and how to structure your rewards, what's a good reward, what's a bad
Mm-hmm.
reward. Like it was stuff around that. And this is the thing that I
Right.
feel like when you're thinking of a Kickstarter, it's easier to see a really good Kickstarter and think that that's easy to
Oh
put
yeah.
together.
Yeah, yeah. Just copy and paste. Yeah.
But and then for a comic, like I think the Kickstarters that I usually see are for physical products.
Right.
And so, support the Kickstarter at this tier, you get one product. At this tier, you get two products. At this tier, you get
Mm.
two products and an accessory. So that's very easy. And then with a comic, it's kind of like, okay, digital version, print version, sticker, t-shirt,
Okay.
mug. I started thinking about merch, and then I
Right.
was like, okay, that will cost more to produce, but
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
this Kickstarter to go towards printing costs more than anything else. And interestingly, it was about like the pricing structure of each tier.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff that I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so
This is a science to it.
boring.
Yeah. It is. It is like that. I feel Kickstarter's in a place. I mean, we did a Kickstarter. I was going to say last year. We did the book last year. The Kickstarter was earlier and a massive delay and everything. But it's it's become. I'm not saying this necessarily as a bad thing. I think it's just the way things go. Like at the beginning, it might be more of a Wild West, whereas because it's quite familiar now, there's certain things that people expect, and
Mhm.
I imagine I haven't done the analysis on this, but I imagine there's less of the sort of Wild West. I'll just do whatever because most of the audience now are expecting. I guess it differs based on the different categories and types of things. So like games might be different from comics, might be different from I don't know gadgets or new things. But like say for comics, it's so we're used to seeing like say these rewards and this kind of structure. And it's like I don't know if you go into a supermarket and they change things around. But whoa, that actually is a true story. Actually, at my local supermarket changed things around. Like I'm in a different country now. What is
I would
going?
hate that.
Yeah, what is? But that's exactly it, right? For a Kickstarter. So I feel that we're at the point where certain conventions and like things like like time before the campaign because you can do the preview page. It's like having enough time before the campaign because most people on social media won't, as much as you'd like to, won't put money towards it. They'll just like it. So you need to get. I've been advised like get the email list because those are people that are more likely to sort of commit. There's all sorts of things, and it's kind of a obviously you have to go through it. I know, like I said, we've had multiple failures. We've had and each one kind of has a different story, different reason. Our very first Kickstarter failed. Just overly ambitious for never having even done a comic before. We were going to do this big anthology as our first thing. Never did it. We had one where it got like I can't remember the exact value, but it was like 90 something percent to the goal and just didn't get it at the end. That was particularly hurtful. We had one where it was actually a sort of a sad one where we launched a Kickstarter and I don't know if you remember the Grenfell fire. Basically, it launched on that day. So
Oh,
or like we launched it the day before and then the next
mm,
day was that and it was like we can't really ask be that like hey support give us money
yeah.
for it. So that yeah that was yeah that was just one of those things. But yeah, I mean for you like you how did you feel with the failure of this Kickstarter and what do you feel what was like the lesson that you picked up?
Uh, it's not easy. It's not easy at
It's a good
all.
lesson.
The pre-planning, you have to do pre-planning. You have to uh I would say you have to almost have the project that you want to do done before you
mm,
launch the Kickstarter. And
mm,
that's probably the biggest, like most important thing that I can like implore any comic creator or like any arts creator of any kind. Do not do what I do. In terms of motivation, if you are in any way aware that the pressure of that Kickstarter and people relying on you, especially having given you like monetary backing, would stress you out instead of help, then don't use it to motivate you for deadlines because
mm,
that was the sort of goal.
right,
And then also, yeah, so that's what I'll change for next time because I'm not so defeated by it that I don't think that there will be a next time. I think I'll just
right,
approach it more wisely. And so yeah, prepare for it, do research into um like successful uh campaigns or actually even look at campaigns that were not as successful to see what it is about it that didn't go well and see if you can
right.
avoid it.
Avoid
Um,
yeah.
this seems like a tangent, but I promise it will make sense. I go to the gym to like work out, but I don't feel very motivated unless I go to a class. So in during that class, I like that I go to a class where I feel like I'll be relatively capable so that I'm not the person who's struggling the absolute most. Um, so it's both like, haha, I can do this, which again feels very mean. So I don't mean it that way, but it's just something that motivates
Yeah.
me. I
As long as you're not
don't know
doing it
what
in
it
someone's
is.
face, then it's
Yeah, oh
okay.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, but
Okay.
cheering each other on. And then but at the same time, so that's kind of what you could do about the Kickstarter campaign. Like
Oh, okay.
look at a one that didn't go well so that you can see what they missed out
Right.
on doing And that way you can be like, oh, well, I'll do better than that. Is
Yeah.
if you're the kind of person that's motivated by that. It's
Yeah.
not very fun to be motivated by someone's
Mm.
downfall. It sounds
Yeah.
really bad.
No,
Um,
get that.
but yeah, and then yeah, preparing, not using it as a motivator or deadline, um, and having a plan like in advance to like just planning extra time. If you think your deadline is going to be in 3 months to deliver all the things that you need to deliver, aim for that 3 months anyway. Don't tell anybody and then
Mm.
say it's actually 6 months.
Mm.
Um, Under promise, over deliver. Like
Yeah.
more than you think you should. Those are the and like and complete your project. I think so, is that four things. Prepare. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think under promise, over deliver. I also struggle with that because in your mind you want to get it done as soon as possible because you think I'm going to do it, get it done as soon as possible. And I think for us, it was a weird one for us because it was like massively delayed, and it was mostly your point about having it done. We didn't have it done, so in fact, that's good advice that I've never done. So all our Kickstarters have actually been like, we need this so we can like pay the artists and that. So the story wasn't done, but I think one of the things that I learned, if you are going to do that, because we did the Kickstarter before I wrote the story. I think that was the thing that got me because then it's the creative process and the story turned out to be a bit longer, not massively but a little bit longer than I was initially. And if it's even if it was, let's say it was like 5 to 10 pages, that's now a different story. So there, and then I'd add to that as well where I had underestimated, and is a thing I keep doing, but I'd underestimated how busy I'd become since the last Kickstarter. So because we did one during the pandemic, or yeah, because of the story was about a pandemic, and since then we had started like because the Do I Look Like a Gamer campaign. We'd started that since doing that last campaign, and then we do this work experience program which had started since doing. So it was like those two things alone, let alone all the other things. So I'd completely underestimated how busy I am. So I think I need to maybe I should spend more time saying that actually out loud and actually have that sink in. So I think understanding those external aspects as well. Like there's so much to going into a Kickstarter. But I mean, for you then, because you said you wouldn't necessarily not. It's not like you wouldn't do one again. Where are you now with the story? And yeah, do you have plans to do it again, or yeah, how are you taking that from the comic creator perspective?
Yeah, I basically I posted an update in January. Um and basically I'd missed the final deadline that I set for myself last year to say like now I'll finish the whole thing. Um I set up, I think in November, because I didn't go to Thought Bubble last year, I set up specific time to make sure that I was I took the same amount of time off during Thought Bubble weekend, basically, but obviously not going to be like, hey, I'm still gonna be motivated by comic creation during this week because I'm gonna spend nothing but at least um up to 14 hours a day working on just this comic. What ended up happening is that I ended up absolutely freaking out. I was sat in front. It really took me back to like middle school and high school where I was stuck in front of a desk. I wouldn't like my parents had to chain me to a desk, not literally, thankfully, but like I wouldn't do my homework, ADHD, so probably a good explanation for that now. But
Okay.
they wouldn't let me go until I finished whatever assignment it was that I had to finish for school, especially if it was important. So apparently that's ended up um, being something that my like adult brain thinks is a reliable way to make me do something, even though it
Oh.
also was just as ineffective as a child. And so I sat there and I would like in November last year, I basically like properly I don't want to say ruin my life, that's too dramatic. But I wouldn't cook, I wouldn't go outside. I would order Uber Eats because it's more efficient rather than spending time in the kitchen to cook.
Cook.
I can do my comic instead. And then just staring at my iPad, not being like being completely paralyzed from like the pressure that I was putting on myself to draw.
Mm,
And November being the deadline for like sending it to print in its entirety. I was like, huh. Um, and then I missed it. I didn't say anything. Talked to my therapist about it, and she was like, "You have to do something.
mm,
Like, you have to either say something." I was like, "I can just cancel it and refund everybody. It would be entirely horrible for my bank account." Oh, that's another thing that I would actually highly recommend, is put that money completely aside in case you need to do that for like serious reasons.
okay. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I did that initially and used it in small amounts to like uh get to be fair, to get new equipment so they would be like under the business, if that makes sense.
Mm,
But um yeah, I hadn't really looked at the project in its entirety yet. So I was like, okay, let's just see what we have in total because I've been working on a page by page sort of basis.
right.
Put everything in one document and realized that I am like at least 10 pages over my original page count
Yep.
because I hadn't just like yourself with
Yeah.
planning the story, I hadn't actually planned what that story looked like. I
Mm,
hadn't done any thumbnails beforehand. I hadn't like I could visualize the story as a complete narrative, almost like a film in my
mm,
brain,
yeah,
and
same.
was like, it's a blessing and a curse. Because I was like, oh yeah, it's beautiful, and this music would play. And it's hilarious because there's no music in
It's-
a book. Um, but yeah, I was very confident about the fact that I had my entire story from start to finish. And then I started to alter the story in order to fit the page count that I had initially, and then change that because I thought that it was going to be too confusing and the writing wasn't that great. And when I realized that actually altogether I had something that was uh that much longer, and also technically, again with pretty bad writing because I was sacrificing things to be like this needs to fit this many pages.
oh, okay.
I was like, in theory, actually, I don't explain parts of the story that are very intuitive to me as the person who's writing it, especially when you've had a story that's been in your head for such a huge amount of years, you know
Yeah,
it
you
by
know it.
heart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You feel it. In fact. Yeah,
Oh, yes, you do. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. So,
And you think other people will feel it the same way.
yeah. And thankfully, I like after I put it together, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna post it in my Instagram story so that people can see what I mean.
Mm,
But I was like, I got to a point, I think in January, where I was like, I just need to write like sketch out all the pages, even if they're stick people, just so that I'm doing the thumbnailing now for the pages that are incomplete because that needs to be done so that I'm not crazy. I know what the story is actually
yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
And some of those drawings look so, so stupid, and I love them the most. I'm actually going to be very sad to do them properly later. But essentially what I decided in terms of the Kickstarter, I said, okay, this is ridiculous. It can't go on not being completed for my own like sanity, but also
Mm,
because I need to deliver something to people.
mm,
And so I said in my January update, I laid out all the stuff that we've talked about like what I've learned, and more so from a sort of creative, like creator perspective,
yeah,
which is like all the pressure that I've been putting on myself, like uh, physically imagining somebody being upset with like waiting in
yeah,
front of
yeah,
their
yeah,
door,
yeah.
waiting for
Looking
Nancy
at their
Art Music
watch.
Soul Traveler, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I am
yeah.
no one. Can we calm down? Um, so
Mm,
like having that all those realizations and then being like, okay, by the way, I'm doing just a very honest update. I am no I'm not going to put a deadline on it at all, but what I am going to do so that you're not waiting for something forever is I'm going to split it into two volumes. So volume one actually ended up being volume one and two.
Okay.
Um, I'm yet to, I don't think I'll be the final judge about whether or not that's going to be a good decision or whether or not the story is going to be interesting enough for
Right.
someone to pick up part one and then want part two.
Part two. Right. Need
But
that cliffhanger.
yeah,
Mm.
so now I also had to restructure the story a little bit and look for a good middle point
Okay. Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
also hopefully in the middle of my page count. Fingers crossed. Um, and then and I've put that up and it was very nerve-wracking. And I've put up the full for Kickstarter backers to be able to see what we have in its entirety at the moment, including the really, really terrible drawings
Yeah.
of the stick people. There's a cat in the comics, so that it's literally just like something with two triangles on, and then just like a very scowly face, and it's quite
Mm.
funny.
So it's like
Um,
keeping people really like here's where I am, like
yeah,
communication piece.
and I don't think it does, and in my case, especially with my Kickstarter, I feel very, very, very lucky because I know most of the people either I've met them personally. They are supporters not only of my work, but also like they're friends of mine, or at least like
Sure.
we've met a few times and they know my work and they know me well,
Okay.
like not super well, but well enough to know that like I am me and
Mm.
I am over ambitious and that I'm gonna try and do this thing for someone who's never done it before in this like if I'm being like maybe a little harsh about it, slightly disorganized way. Um, and so luckily no one has come to me and been like, "Where's my comic? I'll never back
Right.
any
Yeah. Stop you in the
Kickstarters
street. Yeah.
again."
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So I think I'm hoping that that will be helpful moving forward. I'm looking at the post that I put up now, and I forgot my page count. It's 38 at the moment. It was supposed to
Okay.
be a 24 page issue.
Mm. Yeah, it's similar. I think yours still longer than what we ended up doing, but yeah, similar. Just around that size, and it just ballooned um, a little bit. It's yeah, no, it is tough, and I feel you on the. I don't know if it's like. I mean, I'm probably the worst person to give any advice here, but I don't know if it's over ambitious, but it's like it's the timeline, right? It's I'm gonna do this by this point, and there's the pressure, and and there's the oh it failed and all that. Versus, and I genuinely don't know what the balance is, but there, I'm assuming there's a way where you go, it's gonna come without that being never. So you're still
Mm,
working towards it, but it's just not like the problem is like next Friday I'm going to do it, and that maybe that's not realistic, but you will get it done and you will improve. I think the communication is the key part with Kickstarters as well, which again I say somewhat hypocritically because I've not always been great at that because I have the same thing as you. You do things and you imagine that person who just every day like I don't know, is the family and they're sending their youngest child to the mailbox and they're coming back and they're saying, nope, still not there. And the whole day is ruined and they're just repeating that day after day. And for some reason in the scene it's Christmas, even though it's not Christmas, but every day is
I
Christmas.
was literally just picturing it that way
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, the kids in his pajamas and you just ruin this kid's day over and over again. So I totally have that. I had that with, because the one we did for the pandemic was late as well, but that was because of just pandemic and just personally just going through a bunch of things. And then the one after was late, but that was more of a yeah logistics and like I said, not appreciating how busy I was. And each time you're like, yeah, you're imagining that worst case, so it is a tough thing. But I think it as a when you make that creative thing and you have people follow you on a journey, it does become that. I guess quite just vulnerable in that case for especially for like single. I mean, when single creator, I guess, but I guess me as the main person, you think about that versus if it was a company like a or a large organization with the head of Kickstarter outreach or something, then there's just a job and you could just leave it leave
Mhm.
it at home and go on. So yeah, no, I totally feel that. But I think for you, I think especially like you're saying, the people, a lot of the backers are people you know. I think it is about that journey. People want to see just you taking those steps. So I imagine that's the key thing. Just know you are further than where you were as well. I imagine
Yeah.
that helps. Do you do the social media thing? Is that
No.
no? Okay.
I come back every like my version of I'm gonna go to the gym this year is I'm going to be better at social
Okay.
media this year. Um, I'm very happy with my fitness level, so I don't have to worry about that.
Cool.
But there's something it just I need to find some way to find it enjoyable or to reframe it as something that is not draining to the spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, no advice. I mean, I'm trying to delegate more to social media now, but I think the one I've started to do a bit more of is LinkedIn. There's more of a sort of business one, but I did just last week. Was it last week? Maybe the week before. Get a personal social media because we got the Mayamada one. But I got a personal one. I'm not sure why I did that. I just felt that I needed to have I guess, a personal. I was going to say personal brand. I don't like that phrase, but yeah,
See,
just
this is
that.
the thing. It all feels a bit icky. Just-
Yeah, yeah. And left to my own, I wouldn't say anything, but I also realize that's not necessarily a good thing because I guess similar what I've just said to you. I guess I should say to myself in terms of people want to see the journey and see where you are. But it's a whole. I don't know. Being a creative is it's a wild ride. But yeah, I think if you look at it like that, where's the channel that you can just let people know here's where I am and just leave it
Uh,
at that.
it's mostly uh Instagram is where I post the most, and most
Mm,
being like a maximum of probably twice a month, if that.
sounds
Um,
good.
I use my stories more than anything else. And
Okay.
every time I put up a story, especially now with the feature where it's like, oh, hey, would you like to make this a reel? Here's some music you can add to this picture. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's the
can if
thing.
you want.
Yeah.
And then annoying to rebel and be like, this is stupid. It's not going to work. I did that once, and the reel of the still image got more views than I think the post did. And I was like, this is so
Yeah, yeah.
stupid.
Because algorithm, yeah, just they're very much Instagram are into reels. So I've been told. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It's so frustrating, especially when in some ways it's kind of I'm trying to think of the greater good. I'm ultimately an optimistic person, so I'm
Mm.
trying my best. But like the I think the availability of information and the access to a good camera, which 99% of people now have on their phone, that you can make cinematic content, you can make
Yeah,
like brilliantly edited content with software that you don't even need a computer for
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
The floor has been raised for
yeah.
like who can make a video and how they can make it good, as well as the amount of examples that are out there to inspire you. Again, if you, I'm using it in air quotes because ultimately these are the feelings that I want, but I feel nothing but dread and jealousy and also like a ineptitude
Mm.
about my own abilities to do that, even though I'm extremely capable of creating the things that I'm seeing. It's just that it's upsetting to have to dedicate the time to market yourself when
Yeah,
you're not a marketing person.
yeah, yeah.
And also to hire someone who claims to be someone who knows social media very well and can get you what you're looking for is feels like such a massive risk because now again, the accessibility and the range of tools is so wide.
Mm.
You don't know whether or not they're putting their own genuine work or then outsourcing it to something else or someone
Right,
else.
right. Yeah,
And then it like to be very good and fair, you have to then also pay that person. And it just feels like a lot. I
so
don't know. I'm hoping that one day this feels like a soulmate type connection is what I'm looking for, which is such a high bar that's
Yeah.
very unfair to this person. But I hope that when I finally meet the social media manager of my dreams,
Yeah.
that I can rely on them and I can trust them to like not do anything crazy and give them the content. But I'd say like my safest, happiest place online where I can post and be active. I guess it's not really posting, but it is Twitch. Um,
Okay.
I use Twitch as most of my comic. I think previously most of my comics have been done on the tube to my commute to work, and then when I
Mm.
moved I have an annoying connection halfway, so that means that I can't sit there and get lost in drawing for like a solid amount of time. So I can't draw on the tube anymore. So I draw on t Twitch now, and that's been really fun to do because uh, I'm again very grateful for this. But now because of myself being on Twitch and like chatting to people and making friends on
Mm.
Twitch that who are all supportive of each other's streams. I have enough of an audience now that it also doesn't feel like I'm just filming myself by myself in my room.
Right. Okay.
People actually like talk in there very rarely. But enough that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's you. And it gives me a bit of a like, oh, thank goodness I am being witnessed doing
Right.
something. But
Right.
also,
Okay.
I initially also used it as a way to uh partially because of my insecurity for like my Kickstarter backers to be able to see that I am actually doing
Doing
work.
something. Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
if they log on to Twitch, they
Yeah.
can see me
If nothing
struggling
else,
with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I have tried. I totally feel that. I think it's like finding, yeah, finding those places where you feel comfortable and building from there rather than thinking because there's so many platforms. Trying to think that you've got to do them all is just, especially again for very small teams or individual creators. It is actually too much. Is literally
mm,
too much. But we're actually almost out of time. But I've got a conundrum because you have been on now three times,
mhm.
and so what I do is I end with this like bonus round about storytelling in real life. You may remember. And what I'm having to do is keep coming up with new sets of questions, which wasn't anticipating. But I do have something. So, in the past, you have described yourself as when describing yourself as the protagonist of your story, unending enthusiasm, extreme chaos, some existential dread mixed in there. You've described your
Nice to see that
ADHD.
nothing's changed.
Yeah, it's nice as I keep doing this. I just remind people of that. This you said, you said this. You said your ADHD described as like your antagonist. You had a sort of description like army of minions that I noted down, which is like a interesting description. But then you mentioned like your community as being the biggest supporters, things like that. And then when we did it a second time, you described like the world you're in as being a lot more cyberpunk than you'd like as well. You described like the technology that's around. You said you were your own biggest plot twist, which
Yeah, that sounds accurate still.
quite quite funny. And then fighting perfectionism, totally absolutely feel you there as well. And so it brings us to another set of questions that we're going to end on. I'm kind of, it's a bit of a freestyle here. I need to have a think about these and just kind of come up with new questions or just do something entirely different. But we are here. So to end, if your creative journey was a genre mashup, what genres would you be mashing up and why?
Ooh, this is awesome. I'm instantly picturing like Who Framed Roger Rabbit for some reason. Um,
Okay.
which feels accurate in so many different kinds of ways. Um, I
How
like
about that?
picturing a story of like someone stole the very specific brain cell that I need to finish this thing.
Okay.
Because of like the hyperbole of the story. There's like this MacGuffin.
Yep.
Some main characters need to get it. Oh my gosh, and then I turn out to be the greatest plot twist, so it turns out I hid my
Is
own
you?
brain from
Yeah.
myself.
Is you? Okay. Oh,
Uh,
that's a yeah. Okay. That's an
um,
interesting story.
and then yeah, I think. yeah, probably a drama. I would definitely want some romance in there. So probably like a sci-fi romance drama,
Okay,
probably.
interesting. I like that. Do you have any like storytelling tropes that show up in your life or in work even? Probably you've got like the plot twist one. It's always you.
I was the first thing that came to mind was like, this is how genuinely my brain works all the time. Whenever I'm in like a stupid situation, like the suitcase situation where I had to um, pay 4 times the amount for a suitcase as I was running hungover through the airport to the wrong terminal. It's I frequently have freeze frames in my own brain to like lighten the mood in my own brain that are like, "Hi, you're probably wondering how I got here. This was my life, blah 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 blah." And that's like my favorite thing in any. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's overused or cliche. I like it. It works for me in my brain and in my own life at so many different points. And it's funny because they can be both happy or sad, and it
Mm,
always brings like a comedic lens to it because my entire life is about just like
mm,
lightening everything up with humor because it's life is so
mm.
it's too difficult to take this seriously. You just have to be
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, I feel that. All right, my last question is: are there any storytelling rules that you've broken in real life?
Ooh. Immediately I thought like the ones that I thought came to mind, I was like, always go for the bad boy. And I was like, I've never done that in my life. I don't know why that came to mind at all. Um, man, that's such a good question. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a tough one. There's I can't remember what I watched something recently that made me think of that. Um, oh, it's gonna bug me. Why we did it for the podcast? I'm sure it'll come to me. It'll come to me.
I think I might need an example actually of one.
I do a lot of exposition, even though I don't like exposition. Sometimes I
Ooh.
over explain certain things
Oh,
at certain
okay.
times.
It I'm also an over-explainer.
Mm.
Someone stopped me from over-explaining something like very simple at work that would have taken a sentence. It's like, oh, it's because it was whatever. And she
Yeah,
was like, you live your life. You don't have to tell me. And I was like,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
want
But
let me get it
yeah,
out. Otherwise, I'm gonna be upset. But I was just
okay.
thinking in story, like when I'm actually doing my comics, I've watched so many video essays about how you must show and you must not tell that I think it's actually getting to a point where it's hindering my work. I'm like, how do I draw this very intricate concept and feeling? Is there a way that I can make the trees in the background reflect the
Fact, yeah, that's
sadness
what
of
I'm
this
trying to
character?
say. Yeah,
Why, why can't I just draw a sad face on the character? So that's where I'm at with that one.
okay, okay. I like that. I feel that. I think it's on the exposition thing. I think there's a you can tell when the tell as in you can tell the audience something when they ask for it, and then I feel it's better to do the exposition. Hard thing to judge, but that's it. That's all the questions. That is the conversation. Thank you for joining me a third time as well. I'm gonna have to keep coming up with more questions for you now.
Absolute pleasure.
But yeah,
It's so lovely to be on here for the third time. That's just
yeah,
lovely. Thank you so much.
cool. And the hat trick board is in the fictional mail for you. So
Woohoo!
cool. But yeah, no, always appreciate people joining. Appreciate you joining, especially so close after coming back from Japan. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the chat for joining us. If you're watching it live or later, I might put this as an audio podcast episode as well. Don't forget, you can go to Nancy's website to learn more. I will put that in the chat as well. You can check that, check out the journey because we're focused on sharing the journey. So there's no deadlines at the moment. Just
Amen.
yeah, just follow the journey there. Also, shout out to Pro Gamers Group UK. Got to make sure to mention them because they have been providing us with equipment and stuff that we use for events, for live streams, lighting from Streamplify, the microphone that I'm using at the moment, the chair that I'm sitting on from Nitro Concepts as well. So we basically just put these in boxes and take them everywhere. So live streams, events, workshops, we let kids loose on some of these things as well. Nothing has come up broken so far, so that is good. But yeah, all that helps us create better experiences for the community, and yeah, excited to continue working with them as well as we also do more stuff around content creation and push for diversity and inclusion in creative industries, as well as us introducing aspiring creatives to the world of content creation. So that is our episode. You can join our Discord as well. It's a new look Discord. Tazzy's been working on that, so we're going to be doing more stuff on there. We've got our Studio 77 report where we're going to merge the two things. So if you're on the creative journey, join us in there, share what you've been doing. We do have a creative challenge. What are you renewing for this season, this spring season? Let us know what you're working on. Send us pictures. You can follow us on Twitch as well and YouTube because we are streaming on both. And I actually remembered the YouTube stream as well this time, so I'll check on that later. But that will stay. The episode will stay there for the entirety of YouTube's existence. You can check that out. And yeah, we do different shows each month, so make sure you're following us so you can catch them. And then we also have the podcast, the Story X Story podcast, where Tazzy and I have creator interviews, video game discussions, and deep dives into stories across pop culture. So subscribe to that. That has been Casual Conversations with Comic Creators. We'll see you again next month, but that's all for now. So take care, everyone. Bye.